Preceding sound, first thought, first search for mystery, sacred curve, breath of life. House of source, universal house of knowledge, path of wisdom, greening of consciousness. Mother, Father, God, great source of creation, ancestors, and all our relations. Tihei Modiora.
Hello, everyone. That was Timoti Bramely from New Zealand giving us a Maori invocation for today as a special offering. Today is Easter Sunday. As most of you know, it's also one of the days of Passover and also Ramadan in the Muslim calendar is drawing to a close. We have our monthly calls on the second Sunday of each month, and most of the time they don't overlap with any particular holidays. But when they do, we enjoy that and we take advantage of that. And so today, all three of the Abrahamic faiths are celebrating one way or another. And we want to just draw attention to that as we commemorate our April call here at this sacred time. In Asia, there are a number of springtime festivals that also take place around this time. This is a moment where we've passed the equinox. The light is rising now with real certitude. The darkness is receding in terms of the circadian rhythms in the north, and it's obviously the reverse in the south. So it's always an equilibrium and balance. I just want to note as we begin today, the circumstances around the death and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, and just draw attention to the fact that his death and his resurrection was surrounded by women. As he was being crucified, it was Mary Magdalene, his mother, the Virgin Mary, and another Mary, sometimes referred to as just simply the other Mary. No one knows quite sure who she was, but there were three Marys that were at the foot of the cross, and they brought his body down. They dressed it, laid it in the tomb of a wealthy Jewish merchant who was a follower of Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea. And then it was this day, on the third day, that Mary Magdalene came to check out how things were and saw that the stone had been rolled away from the mouth of the tomb and that there was nobody there. And then she met a man in the garden who she initially, in her astonishment, thought was the gardener. And then quite instantly, she recognized that this was the risen Jesus. And she scurried away to announce that to the 12 disciples. And as you know from the various Nag Hammadi texts and the available evidence about Mary Magdalene, she was extremely close to Jesus as consort and lover, even wife, according to the Gospel of the Beloved Companion. They bore children together, and she was the one who was the most attuned and mediated his deeper teachings to the other disciples. Today, we want to continue our preparations for our pilgrimage to Chartres, July 2nd through the 8th. We'll be gathering there again for our 17th annual pilgrimage to that sacred site. I noted the power of women around Jesus at the seminal event in his life that actually, if you look back over the last thousands of years of Western civilizational history, even world history, what happened in the death and resurrection of Jesus was one of those seminal moments that have shaped history itself and catalyzed one of the major religious traditions. So it's an important moment. And as we go to Chartres, we call that feminine container for spiritual awareness and spiritual odyssey to mind. Chartres is one of those extraordinary, rare places on the earth that is infused with the telluric energies emanating from the Mother Earth of a particularly exquisite, feminine quality of a virgin expecting to give birth. And this was a tonality noted by the Druids thousands of years ago, dating back all the way to 1500 BC, over 3,500 years ago, when they came out of Eastern Europe and settled in what is now France and the Benelux countries, and in England and Wales and so forth. When they came to Chartres, they discerned a particularly potent feminine quality. And in fact, Chartres was identified by the Druids, who knew a lot about these things, as the most potent site in all of Europe. And every year they would gather together 4 times a year around Chartres. And that was their Vatican, their seat for their deepest religious celebrations in alignment with the seasons and the passage of time. This year, we're going to be delving into the 4th of the liberal arts, musica. It's at the center of the liberal arts. Musica is about the harmony of the cosmos, enunciated most profoundly and first, actually, by Pythagoras, a Greek philosopher living in the 6th century BC. And he had this very deep awareness that the universe was one. And the reason why it was one singularity is because numbers and geometric shapes, which emitted sounds, both constructed the entire universe and united the entire universe as a singularity, a single poem, a single sound. And that's why Pythagoras coined the term cosmos to describe the universe. Cosmos means jewel. It connotes harmony, it connotes beauty, because this is what Pythagoras discerned as he sat in the deep quiet of his own soul. He could hear the sound of the sun, he could hear the sound of the planets, and he could hear the harmony that they all made as they moved together through space. Extraordinary insight. And so this coming July in Chartres, we're going to be contemplating the waves of love and the healing power of the music of the spheres that emanate from the sun and cohere our little corner of the universe as a singularity. So that's very much the theme for this year. We want to delve into it a little bit more deeply today with our resident cosmologist, Paula Perkins, who you all know, who's been in Chartres, who has graced us on a number of occasions on Humanity Rising and our community call by telling us different latest researches into astronomy and cosmology. And today, Paula is going to focus our attention back on the sun and talk a little bit about the music of the spheres. And then she's going to activate some actual recordings that have recorded the sound of the sun. And then we're going to talk with Paula Petry for a bit on our emerging youth program. We have an extremely exciting youth program for everyone. And then we'll bring our session to a close. We know that there's lots of festivities going on, but we just wanted to welcome you and thank you all for joining us. We hope that you can all join us in Chartres this year. I'll put the course description in the chat box. But for those of you who are watching passively, you just go to ubiquityuniversity.org, and right on the homepage, right at the top, you'll see a banner for Chartres. So thank you, everyone. And so in this spirit, I want to welcome Paula Perkins. Paula, take it from here and tell us all about the sun.
Thank you, Jim. So I need to share my screen here. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
But it's not full screen.
Right. All right. So first of all, I would like to start us today with, can you see my picture here? Let me see.
Yep.
There we go. All right. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Easter Sunday. We are in the radiance of the sun. So I would like to start us off today with listening to the sound of our sun. This is from NASA. So it's the raw audio sound. It's turned into sound that we can hear. So this is the pulse inside our sun. And it's probably a perfect sound file to meditate with. And as we go to our presentation today, I want to share with you, we are the living rays of the sun. It's my insight, and perhaps that of many others, that all the diversity of life on our earth comes in spectral radiance from the rays of the sun. It pours out the life from wherever the life comes from in the infinite, pours through the heartbeat of the sun, and as spectral rays, it comes to the earth. And then all this diversity of creative life, every single flower is unique in the roses, in the people, in the trees, in the animals, but there are spectra of harmonic resonances throughout the whole of created life. And we are rays. We are each a word, a chord uttered by the central spiritual sun, proceeding through the heart of our sun to the earth, and all of this life that the earth embodies is resonant life frequency that is imbued with the radiance of the living sun. So as we go to Chartres in our, there we go, in our path and in our process, I want to offer you a short meditation that will be perhaps delightful for you. As we wake in the morning, it's very, very simple. We can imagine the sun from within at the base of our spine, just rising up within us until we ourselves become the whole, full, radiant, living, rising sun. And just for a few moments every morning, we can let that sun rise up into our heart, into our belly, into our throat chakra, until we radiate the blessing and the life force of the living sun out to everyone that we encounter. It can be just a few moments, and I think it can change the way and how we live. And then perhaps you can take a few moments in the morning or in the evening at dusk to dance with the sun, to really start to have a conversation with the sun, because we are that living sun and it is us. So I am inviting you to begin more deeply, perhaps, your own personal relationship with the living sun that we all are. And now we embark on our universe of the unsilent cosmos and the sun that we are, the acoustic ensembles with life. Sonification, very briefly, is the process of making audible the sounds from science, either for scientific purposes or for aesthetic purposes. We want to keep the science real, but we also want to make it audible. It's a kind of language. We can listen to the solar wind particles, which we will in a few moments, streaming or gamma ray bursts billions of light years away in the universe. It adds to our appreciation of the sun, and those who can't see also are given an experience of the nature of the sun or the nature of the universe through that sound. So is there actually sound in space? Space is not a perfect vacuum. The stream of charged particles flowing from the sun, the solar wind pervade the solar system with an extremely thin gas, which has various ethereal phenomena. Unlike gas in our atmosphere, which is bound together by mutual collisions of particles, the plasma is bound together by the magnetic fields that surround it throughout our solar system and in the universe. The turbulent nature of the sun's surface means that pressure and density disturbances travel outward at the speed of sound in the solar wind. Due to the temperature and density of the plasma, this is a few hundred kilometers per second, and these pressure disturbances create sound waves in interplanetary space. So our Earth is actually resonating like a bell in relationship to the sun and the solar wind. These huge, large-scale resonant waves travel around our Earth in both directions, and it was discovered in the 1800s. It was proposed in the 1800s by Pierre-Simon Laplace, the French scholar, and recently the Japanese and American scientists have confirmed it. So as Earth tugs on our planet, the sun also affects our atmosphere, and it creates waves throughout the sky that resonate around our Earth, something like a bell. We call these Schumann resonances because it was Schumann who understood and discovered them. And it's a set of spectral peaks in the extremely low frequency portion of Earth's magnetic field spectrum. The solar wind we see down here, it impacts on our atmosphere. It then creates sparks on the far side of the Earth. These sparks come back and create lightning in the atmosphere of our Earth, these huge waves of energy. The lightning bounces on our Earth and back to our ionosphere. So the solar wind is creating these Schumann resonances, and the ionosphere, they're circling around our Earth constantly and resonating as a back frequency to our Earth dynamics. So in February 22, the Tonga eruption, the earthquake, the volcano was so intense that it caused the atmosphere to ring like a bell. The pulse took 35 hours to cover the world, traveling at 650 miles per second. So all these dynamics are creating sound in our solar system from the sun and from our planet, and many planets having these experiences. The global atmospheric oscillations are much too low to hear, but they're excited continuously in our atmosphere, providing a gentle but persistent background music to the more dramatic weather atmosphere. So Jupiter is one of the things that's most immediate for hearing in our solar system, as the solar wind impacts the electromagnetic field of Jupiter. It also has aurora like the Earth, and it creates vibrational soundscapes. And many amateur astronomers and radio enthusiasts can tune in to the shortwave radio receivers to listen to Jupiter, and we'll hear what it sounds like in just a few moments. I'm going to share the presentation with you, and then we'll go back and listen to more of our sounds. So there is the nebular hypothesis theory. We see all these diverse solar systems, not just our solar system. They also have resonance because it seems that the whole universe, and we understand that form is made from sound. beautiful. It's the harmonics in the physics of the universe itself, these formations. And it's in every unit. The sound is within the star as it forms. And this harmonic, this spectral sound or chord of the sun creates its own solar system. So we have these scalings. Let me go back here and see if I can remove this little bar here, maybe down. Okay, that's all right. But the scaling symmetries and musical resonances among the distances of the planets of the solar system. This is a wonderful article that explores the Pythagorean music theory diagram that Jim is so enthusiastic about. And we've actually found the subtler mathematics, the whole dynamics to the resonance between the planets in our solar system. It's very much, Pythagoras had the beginning insights of this. I think it's also there in ancient Jain and Hindu mathematics, and some of the very thousands and thousands of years ago, some of our musicians who could hear with their heart and reach into the universe tasted these kinds of things. And hearing with the inner ear, I have a slide for this, but it's not unique to anyone, because even you, because I know from the experience, by sitting on mountains in the desert, in the deserts of Australia or in the Himalayas, you can let your mind go out into space and touch the stars. You can touch the galaxies because they're accessible to us. There's no wall between us and the first breath of the universe. So our own hearing ability, we can learn, we can teach ourselves to hear the cosmos around us if the conditions are right and we're not bombarded by all our radio stations in our civilization. So we have the sounds of Jupiter, we have the sounds from Saturn that our spaceships have actually recorded that we will listen to. We recorded an earthquake, a Mars quake on Mars with one of our satellites. And this is a lot because of the solar wind interacting with our planets. Robert Alexander, who is one of the wonderful sonification experts, we'll hear a bit of his work. I was listening to some raw. He found that information in the solar wind data with the ratio of carbon to iron atoms was more audible, that the scientists hadn't seen it in their data, but he could hear it in the work that he was doing. From the solar wind bouncing on the bow shock of our Earth, there's a whole series of sound sonification data that have been created. So how is this sound actually happening, this hum inside the Earth? A new study is the most comprehensive, and we found there are these circulating waves of plasma in the outer layer of the inner side of the sun that perpetually create the 11-year solar cycle, where the sunspots begin at the poles, move toward the equator, and echo back again. And again, the peak sunspot activity is going to happen on 2025. And here we see all of these radiant patterns inside the sun that create that resonant bell-like seismology that gives us those sounds. The convection cells, all this dynamic activity of our sun. So this is the cymatics. Just from resonating sand, we get all these patterns. Resonating the sound of the cosmos, we get stars and galaxies and planets. This is the multi-frequency energy from our Milky Way. This is radio on the lowest, the visible into infrared, and all the way up to, the radio ones are the longer ones. This is up to gamma rays here. Gamma rays, X-rays, visible, infrared, through the spectrum to the radio, looking at the plane of our galaxy in different frequencies. and the galaxy, actually. Well, those images, this image here of the multi-frequency, it's from X-ray and radio and ultraviolet energy looking toward the center of our galaxy. And they've actually created a sonification moving across the field of the center of our galaxy, pulsing to these different energies. If we have time, I'll get to that, but I don't know if we will today. But we can come back to it. So data sonification, they've actually sonified a black hole at the center of our, the Perseus cluster, galaxy cluster. So I want to get to some of these sounds, and I want to just share with you. Maitreya, the Bodhisattva, the student of the Buddha, said, this is in his book Infinity 1, when humanity will learn to understand infinity, then hearing in the direction of the higher worlds will develop. Attunement of the spirit affords the needed harmony. As affinity between elements is indispensable, so the concordance of spirit is the mother of creativeness. By straining the will toward infinity, one may reach concordance on every step. That's maybe what we call synchronicities. Synchronicity or concordance is the unifying principle which affirms the sacred intercourse between spirit and spirit, spirit and planet, between spirit and cosmos, cosmos and the power of the infinite. In the chain of spirit creation, we find manifestations of the most precise and subtle harmonies manifested by the creativeness of cosmic fire. All right, so we're going to listen to a few of these. I hope if I close, I need to escape here and show and close this presentation. And then I have just a few more sounds, so we can again listen to this amazing sound of ours. Meditate to it. It's very, very calming and beautiful. We also have these remarkable sounds that have been discovered, the plasma waves.
The thousands of waves of plasma rippling through the solar wind. Such waves would be driven by fluctuations in the electric and magnetic fields. It's kind of like how fluctuations in
I'm wanting to get the sound.
Sound.
Defeating a criminal.
So those are the sound coming off of, literally off of the sun, from the Parker probe, which is very close to the sun, was recording that solar wind, that energy literally coming off the sun, and it's transferred into audible sound that we can hear, but it's literally the energy that's recorded coming off of the sun. And I'm going to give you a taste of this wonderful video using the sun to make music, with Robert Alexander, and you can also find it.
Master's degree, was approached by Thomas Ubiquity, who leads the Solar Heliospheric Research Group, and he was interested in taking some of their data and turning it into sound. So I met with their team, and they put up a bunch of plots, and they were telling me about coronal holes, and they were throwing out the scientific jargon, and I really didn't understand much of it, but then they put up these images in these movies. Really started to understand why they were so excited, is because, you know, like, what's happening out there is absolutely amazing, and it was all silent. So essentially they're interested in kind of like creating a soundtrack for these things that are taking place out in space.
And so we're listening to the soundtrack that he was creating using the data, sonifying, turning it into information, and then making sound files to go with the sounds of the sun. So we have one or two more. Oops, this we don't need. The roaring sound of Jupiter and some of the other we're going to go here to, there we go. This is Saturn. So that is the solar wind impacting Saturn caught by one of our telescopes. And this one is Jupiter's aurora. It's maybe a little difficult to listen to, but you can imagine if we can put that in any kind of frequency that we can hear, keeping the ratios and putting music to it by figuring out the balance and the dynamic. But the universe is literally filled with sound. And very briefly, I will just share with you, because of all the dust in the Perseus galaxy cluster, they have actually created sound by mapping the frequencies of dust around the black hole. So we understand that sound is ubiquitous in the universe. We understand that every single bit of plasma, the stars, we are seed stars. We are rays of the sun. Each being, we're told, is a seed planet, a seed star, a seed galaxy, or a universe. And each of us begins as a note, as a chord, and learns to sing with the universe that we are. And as we let our mind really participate in the cosmos that we are little drops of, that has made us, that we were, as we heard at the beginning, star particles. We are made of this. We are told that we become one with the universe, and we are one with the universe. We just have to let our consciousness expand and merge into our awareness. First, with the star drop that we are, with the planet, with the living sun, and with the universe that we are. So thank you all very much. And I will give you the sound of the sun again as I invite Jim back to share with us. You can hear the resonant frequency there in that presence, that ringing bell, the plasma within the sun.
Thank you, Kala. Thank you so much. It's so exciting to actually hear the recordings of these different Jupiter and Saturnian frequencies and the sun frequencies, and to know that the moon going around the earth changes our sound, and to see the waves as we were moving through space, the waves in our, as we were receding behind us. It's a beautiful, beautiful depiction of the cosmos and the harmony that Pythagoras and his disciples discerned so many thousands of years ago. So thank you so much for that. And everyone, Kala will be back in Chartres sharing more about the harmonic of the cosmos and the music of the spheres. So I hope that all of you can join us.
I just want to share again, try that meditation of as the sun rises in the morning, and just you'd sit up in bed and just imagine the sun rising within you and then radiating out into the universe and dancing.
Beautiful, beautiful. They say that Pythagoras could actually hear the sun. I wonder if any of us can get that quiet.
You can, because I've heard lots of stars in the universe.
Fantastic.
You can if I can.
Thank you, Kala. And now we want to change vectors for a moment, everyone, after that splendid cosmological report from Kala, and bring on Paula Petry, who's been gallantly working since the end of our last Chartrian pilgrimage in 2022 to convene a whole program designed for young people. So we hope that all of you certainly will come, but more specifically, any of you who are coming that have young people, teenagers, or people in their kind of 20-somethings, we would hope that you could activate them. We have a special 20% discount for any young people who come. You'll see that on the registration page. So Paula, why don't you give us a quick update on what's going on and the program that is in store.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I'm honored to be invited to help design and coordinate the youth program this year. And it's a great segue into what I want to talk about is Kala's presentation, because where is that in our science classes, right? So the mystery and magic is so missing, and the teens are ready for it. And that's my message for you today, is that what can, if we go to define the problem, right? Because there is a real youth crisis. You know, how we define the problem is what leads us to those solutions that will be most effective. And I believe one of the problems is that the youth are ready for a different world, and we are not ready for them. And so the Chartres experience for youth and young adults, I feel, is really key. We've named the program Destiny Meets Weird, Weird, W-Y-R-D, because that is the term used by the Anglo-Saxons to mean the invisible. So the premise of the title is that in order to reach one's highest destiny, and what does that mean? Where our soul is being pulled, right? We're being pulled forward from all of those synchronicities that happen to us, right? The things just fall into place for us because we know who we are and we know the possibilities and we know that we are part of the cosmos in some sense of it, right? And so in that flow that's created from knowledge, but also from experience, we get to have these weird experiences where life becomes really fun and glorious along with the dips, right? But where we really experience those synchronicities, meaning those what Deepak Chopra calls synchrodestinies that come to us in a way that pulls us into what our soul most longs for. You know, who am I in this world is a big question that youth are having. So it's the extraordinary, and we have those experiences. And so knowing about the invisible, but also experiencing it. And everybody at Chartres, going to Chartres, have those experiences. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to hear the sun, maybe, because Kala is going to be there. And we know, in addition, what makes that magic. There's like a formula, and the Druids knew it, and the ancients knew it across time, right? The shamans knew it. People settled on areas, land masses that had energies that helped attune, because it's not easy. So creating that plus ceremony and coming into ritual and coming into this container of family, I call it the Ubiquity family, is very powerful and gives us like the best chance of having those experiences that are extraordinary. So the youth are ready. And how do I know that? I've been teaching youth, and I started here in Bainbridge Island. I moved here and got together a small group and co-teach with somebody. And there was a small group and remained small, but they invited friends and friends. They called themselves the Test Rats in the beginning. And then that was 13 weeks ago, and they won't stop. So instead of having 4 weeks of classes, we have just one continual class and we're on our 13th week. The 12th week, I did something totally different. I want to tell you this story. The 12th week, I said, you know what? I'm teaching on my own. We're going to do it different. So 6 girls walk in and grab a yoga mat, grab a comfy blanket and let's sit on the floor this week. There's no flip chart. There's no chairs. And the oracle cards are going to be in the middle, always are. And let's begin. And I began with a story of when I was an 8th grader. And it was a story that clearly defined me as a at-risk youth. It just came to me. Yeah. And whether that contributed or it was the yoga mats and the blankets and on the floor and the no flip chart, all key. What transpired that day was amazing. They hijacked totally the class. And when the one teen drew this card, the oracle card, I'm not sure if you can, the tree, right? She drew the tree. I think she had drawn the tree before. And she looked down at the tree and she said, you know, I see this and this, and there's actually a rabbit and it's Easter Sunday and this and a that. I have to share with you that 3 weeks ago, I didn't think I was going to be here. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit more about that? And she had a plan for suicide. And she represents the 25% of girls in the United States that have made a plan for suicide. And she was on the verge of activating it. But when we went around that day, everybody's card spoke to them in ways that were very profound. And they helped each other. I just facilitated because the amazing wisdom of this youth came forth. And I share this story with you because that's an important part of the youth experience at Chartres. We've carved out a middle section, and part of my role is that. Because Chartres is one big oracle. It's one big opportunity, to experience the sublime, the divine, the extraordinary, and also have it speak to us individually. And needing help, teens need help to mulch their life, to make sense of it, to expand their emotional resiliency. By doing that themselves within the group of teens, they help each other. It was an amazing experience for me. So that is part of Chartres. And the other part of the youth group is bringing in the weird. And Peter Mary joins me, and he's Chief Innovative Officer for Ubiquity University. He's also the founder of the Weird Research Project, which I got to experience last year in Broughton Sanctuary in England. And there's a lot of devices that the youth are going to be able to experience that are going to teach them the power of their mind, that the mind has an effect on matter. And it's an extraordinary experience because it's direct and it's meaningful, and there's much to mulch from that. What does that mean for you? And if we are all one, which is we're backing into this universal truth of oneness, what does that mean for how we want to and need to lead our lives? Because everything we put out there comes back to us. And how is it that we want to walk that truth and live that truth? We have 2 youth that are amazing, that are going to lead the pack, I have a feeling, which is Drummond, Casper Drummond, and Finlow Mary. And Casper has been part of Chartres since she was 11 years old. And actually, April 13th on Humanity Rising, we'll have a group of youth sharing their experiences and their view of what it means to be youth today, and what are they needing from us? What are they needing from us? So That's a little bit about it. If you're thinking, wow, I have someone in mind, but they don't know any of this, it's perfect. They're going to have information sheets ahead of time and a glossary of words and an orientation before we start. I just encourage you to reach out. I feel one of our solutions, I can think through time, in time, all the people that reached out to me. And if you sit with yourself, you'll find that you had all of those mentors people too, right? Those people that reached out to you at that point of time. And I think what came to me in that class that week is we don't know what that point of time is. Where are youth in that continuum? Because so many youth have gone into crisis with their parents and their close loved ones being in shock about it. So think about somebody to bring. We're going to hold everyone who's not able to attend in our prayers and our thoughts and charts as we convene our first youth Chartres experience. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. As Paula has been saying, the young people all around the world, not just in the United States and Europe, are under escalating duress. And not only suicides, but depressions and anxieties and self-hurting, all manner of bad things are beginning to proliferate among the young people because they don't see an escape. 60% of them believe that we're actually doomed. And so whatever we can do to empower them along the lines that Paula is articulating with Peter Mary, we envision this in some ways as a Jedi warrior school to familiarize the young people with the Force and the fact that there is a energetic, harmonizing principle to life and cosmic being. And it's possible to align with that. It's possible to understand it. It's possible to use it for healing. That's one of the reasons why we go to Chartres. It's a place for thousands of years of very deep healing. And many of our pilgrims have experienced that. And so to be able to imbue young people with this capacity is really a responsibility that we have, because the young people are suffering in ways that none of us did when we were young, given current world conditions. So Paula, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank Peter Mary. I want to invite all of you to consider any young people and be directly in touch with Paula. And we'll try to figure out how we can facilitate people coming. The program with the young people will be very much integrated into the larger program. The young people and the adults will go through the mornings together and all the rituals in the evenings and the afternoons together, but also have their own separate program under the theme of Destiny Code meets Weird. So it'll be very, very exciting. So Paula, thank you so much. And that will bring us to a close, everyone. We want to thank you for sharing your Easter Sunday with us. We want to bid you a good day. We hope to see you on Humanity Rising this next Thursday for an expanded program of our youth program at Chartres. And then on Friday, we're going to have a number of the faculty who will be joining us in Chartres to share what they have in mind. So we really want to promote Chartres. We'd like as many people as possible to come. It is such a sacred place. I go every year. It's the most important spiritual pilgrimage I do on an annual basis. So I speak from deep personal experience. So I solicit all of you to join us for that sacred experience. And now may the light of spring and the power of the Passover and the resurrection be with us all as we are aware of a world of increasing fragility. We know that it is up to us to live lives of such integrity and such resonance and alignment with the larger cosmic forces that our lives will be tuning forks for the harmony of the spheres. With that blessing, I bid you goodbye. See you next month.